Is chapter 5 of The Chocolate Lab. Hannah checks the thermometer and adjusts the temperature of the melting pot. It has to be 104 degrees exactly, or the chocolate gets grainy. And you can't stir it too much. That'll turn it grainy too. What do you mean grainy? I said. Like sand, she said. You wouldn't want to eat it. I'll be the judge of that. Hannah pulls a pitcher of cream and a stick of butter from the refrigerator. Tear off a piece of parchment paper, she says. Lay it across the counter. Parchment paper, I say? Are we making chocolates or writing the Declaration of Independence? It's for drying the chocolate, silly. She dumps more chocolate shavings into the melting pot. Don't you pay attention to anything Mom does? I'm her #1 taste tester, I say. Making the chocolates would ruin the magic of eating them. Hannah rolls up her sleeves. You're hopeless, she says. You're the hopeless one, I say back, but the truth is that I'm amazed by how much my 3rd-grade sister knows about making chocolate. Of course, I'd never tell her that. Just then, Grandpa Irving walks in. He's carrying a bundle wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. There you are, he bellows. Have I got a surprise for you? He places his bundle on the countertop. It's about the size of an armadillo, which is a pet I've wanted ever since I wrote a report on them last year. Is the surprise for me or Hannah, I say. For both of you, he says. Hannah and I eye the package suspiciously. Neither of us wants to be the first to move for it. The smell of melting chocolate fills the air, and Coco begins sniffing and huffing. His eyes lock on the melting pot, and I grab his collar more tightly. Go ahead, Grandpa says. I won't bite. Definitely not an armadillo. Too big. I snip the string around the package and tear off the paper. The first thing I pull out is a white shirt that has more ruffles than a parade of princesses. 2 heavy white stockings tumble out after it onto the counter. I toss the clothes to Hannah. These must be for you, I say. Grandpa catches the clothes midair. Don't be silly, Mason. He hands everything back to me. These are for you. The height of fashion from 1776. Hannah giggles. Coco puffs through his nose like he's laughing too. Grandpa paws to the rest of the clothing. He holds up a blue dress with strings crisscrossing the front and a white hat that looks like the top of a frosted too much cupcake. Hannah, these are for you. If you're going to move in with me, the 2 of you should have your own colonial clothing. We're going to a reenactment, I guess? I asked. Why not? Grandpa says. The excitement in his eyes keeps my mouth from telling him exactly why not. But girls wear stockings, I say, not boys. Back then, men and women both wore stockings, Grandpa says. And now, so do you, Hannah says to me, giggling some more. Grandpa sorts through the rest of the clothing. They go with these breeches, he says. These breeches, he says. I had them made by my clother who specializes in colonial garb. A what? Who does what? Hannah says. A guy who only makes clothes like this, I say. Oh, Hannah says, a guy who makes stockings for boys. We stand there, me holding my ruffled shirt, Hannah holding her poofy hat, and Coco hoping for a few graham crackers. Well, Grandpa says, his eyebrows lifting up like 2 giant snowy caterpillars. Well, what? Hannah says. Grandpa smiles. What do you think? I open my mouth to thank him, even though white stockings are the world's worst gift for a 10-year-old boy, but my parents would want me to thank him. But before I have a chance to lie, it starts to smell like my father left the coffee brewing too long. Something's burning, Miss Meredith calls to us. Oh no, Hannah says, the chocolate. I look over her shoulder and she stirs the goop with a spoon. Grainy, I ask. Worse than grainy, she says. Totally fried. We have to start over. Just then, the phone rings. Hannah and I both leap for it, but it's my arm that knocks into the melting pot. Hot, gooey chocolate dumps out like a tidal wave and spills over the clothing Grandpa just gave us. And it gets even worse. My grip loosens on Coco's collar, and he leaps up on his hind legs. His paws sweep through the chocolate and across the piles of ingredients. Gummy worms wriggle to the floor. Marshmallows tumble across the counter. Jelly beans clatter at my feet. Coco bounds around, leaving dark, smeary paw prints everywhere, including all over Hannah's shirt and hair. She stumbles back, and her stirring spoon flings into the air, raining melted chocolate down on everything. It splatters the half of the lab that wasn't already splattered and makes yummy looking dripping streaks on the walls and the tables and even the ceiling. Grab the dog, Grandpa says. Get Coco out of here, Hannah cries out. But by the time I shove him outside, most of what we've collected to put inside our award-winning chocolate is either on the floor or tainted by Coco's turbo-sniffing snout. Miss Meredith pulls her purse from under the counter. I am so out of here, she says. This place better be spotless and sparkling by tomorrow or I'm calling your parents. Grandpa rolls up his sleeves. Don't worry about that, he says. Spotless and sparkling just happen to be two of my middle names.